Hi, I'm Carrie Smith.
And I'm Emma Skip, and welcome to It's a Death Sentence.
This is a podcast that takes a lighter look at the heavier things.
So, if you want some of this... So somebody could have been dead for a week and end up with you.
Or maybe longer, and somebody might have said, oh, there's a really bad smell.
A little bit of this.
I haven't got a tissue. I'll get one. You got one. And plenty of this.
So original. Fucking hell. Then this is the show for you. Because
Life,
it's a death sentence.
Welcome back, and today I've got Jo Hughes with me. Jo, welcome to It's a Death Sentence.
Hello, hi.
Can you tell me a bit about yourself?
My name's Jo. Joanna. I'm a mother of 3 girls. Got a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 10-year-old. Partner to Stuart. Been together for a long time. I'm an interior designer by trade, and what about me? It's really hard to talk about yourself.
You're just absolutely fabulous. That's all we need to know. So today we're going to talk a little bit about death. So we've had a little chat about what the podcast is about. And when you think about death, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
For me, I've recently lost my dad in June, so that's my closest link with death at the moment. Luckily, I've still got my mum alive, so that's the first real big loss. I did have I've got a friend, mate Les, who I lost. She was just over 42 when she passed away. So of cancer. So again, that was a real, to have somebody who's similar age to you, was a big loss, shocker to everyone. And so, as I get older, people are talking about age and growing up, and I just think age is a luxury. It really is. Growing up, it's
blessed if you're getting older.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know obviously you've lost your dad recently, but how does death make you feel about yourself? Does it make you more concerned now, like you said, as you're getting older?
I think as you get older, you get more aware of it. I think as you're younger, you're invincible, aren't you, when you're younger, and you go through life and you've got all this time ahead of you. And I think as you get a little bit older, you realise actually that time is shortened or it's running out. I've got the big 50 coming in January. So I think that is quite a milestone. And but you also know yourself a bit more, I think, as you get older. So, do I think more about death? Probably, I'm just more aware of it, I think. You become more aware of illnesses with people. And say when you're younger, you hear of illnesses. And, we're very fortunate as a family to not have any major illnesses that have rocked our world. And I know some families have terrible times. So we're very fortunate. And this was a big thing for us when Dad became poorly.
Yeah.
But I think it's always a case of, I think from our family, illness was when you were older, much older. So in that sense, we were very fortunate. But do I think about it more? I'm more aware of it. I think that's it. And I'm more aware of, my mother-in-law, she's getting older and needs more. You just realise time runs out. Just make the most.
That age-old saying, isn't it? Time goes faster as you get older.
Yeah, it does. And having children as well, you just realise, in the blink of an eye, they're getting older.
Yeah.
And, once they start school, it just...
And then it goes, doesn't it, in a flash? Yeah. So, looking back to when you were a child, can you remember having any experiences of death, like pets or...
Yeah, probably my first one, my cat, called Puss Puss, very original name. That was probably my first one, really. Yeah, he just went off and passed away, or died, and we don't know what. I'd been to Drayton Manor, I think, and I'd come back, and we'd been searching for the cat for ages, and I kept coming home, going, from school. We found him. And Mum was like, no, and I'd been to Drayton Manor on a school trip, and so we found him. No, and the next day, like Mum said, a neighbour found him under a bush, in the garden, but I didn't want to tell you, didn't want to ruin your lovely day.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So as a pet, that was probably my first real,
Were you upset by it?
Yeah, of course. I don't know how old I was, probably 7 or 8, like that. My nan, my mum's mum, she passed away probably when I was about 12, 13. I remember taking the call because Mum and Dad had rushed out to go to the hospital, and I remember the nurse phoning back to say that, you know, Nan had passed away. So yeah, that was probably my first real, you know, funerals. And then my auntie passed away. She passed away of cancer. So, but I was older then. I was about 15, 16. But again, it was all older people. It wasn't, you know, friends or young children. I mean, yeah, so I was very fortunate to be shielded from any close friends as a child dying.
Were your mum and dad open talking about it? Were they open about it? Did they explain it to you?
I don't think we ever really asked the questions. It was just, you know, I think probably we probably did talk about it, but not in any great depth. We knew that, you know, my nan was in her 80s. You know, things were going to go.
It just
a natural process. Yeah, obviously, you know, we comforted each other, but yeah, there was no big real discussions about death or thinking that sense.
So how now that you're older and obviously your dad passed recently, how does that make you? How did it make you feel? I mean, obviously, the obvious reasons it's going to make you feel upset, isn't it? But
yeah.
How has it impacted your life?
I think for me, we were very fortunate. I think there's two ways of looking at it. Stuart's dad passed away suddenly from he was in Germany, and he passed away very suddenly, and so there was no time to say goodbye. And so with my dad, he had pulmonary fibrosis, so he'd had it for 7 years, and it was only the last 10 months, 8 months that it really affected his life. But we had time to, you know, prepare. And you don't know which is kinder, which is nice. They both have their, you know, I suppose their bonuses. But for us, you know, it was a time to have those discussions and say things. I mean, Dad was a man of many words in certain aspects, but to be able to, yes, have discussions. And from our point of view, Dad made lots of plans for his funeral, which was an absolute gift.
That's
really
a dream, isn't it?
It is, yeah. He actually spoke to the celebrant beforehand, which was brilliant, you know. So luckily, a friend of mine is a celebrant, Mike, and he came to visit Dad on 2 occasions, and Dad managed to say what he wanted. Dad was not a religious guy, and, you know, was adamant, I don't want any religion at my funeral, but he chose all his songs, and he said what he needed to say, and yeah.
That's lovely. There's something about being prepared almost, isn't there?
Yes.
You know, sometimes when it's sudden, it can be so much more traumatic for everybody.
Because you don't know what that person wants. And for us, we just wanted to make sure that Dad had what
he wanted. That's beautiful. And how did your mum cope? Get upset at your time.
Oh, Jo.
Don't want to see you cry.
I said I would. Right. Cut that bit.
We'll edit it out, don't worry.
So Mum was very strong. Mum was Dad's caregiver, so we were very fortunate in that sense because, you know, Mum took a lot of that burden off us as a family.
Yeah.
You know, I would say burden, responsibility. That's the, you know, in the day-to-day care. Mum's 82, but she's still physically active neighbour, which is amazing. But it does then also make you think, as you get older, the vulnerability you are as you're older, and being able to, you know, have people around you that can support you in lots of ways if you're ill or dying is so incredibly important. But it does make you really open your eyes and make you aware. I mean, even the care system, everything, that if you don't have people around you, you're very, very, vulnerable. That's it. That's the only really word that I can.
And sadly, you know, I see it all the time in my job. People are left and found in terrible states.
Oh, I'm sure, and that's something that, you know, like speaking to a friend, we said that I think the word "a good death" is a real bonus to be able to, you know, to have a good death and have those people surrounding you, supporting you is a privilege.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's...
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think, you know, death can be so undignified sometimes that to get the good death is what we all really want, isn't it?
Well, I mean, luckily, I mean, of what's happening in the press at the moment, that the bill has been passed to, assisted
yes,
dying.
Yeah.
I'm somebody that would have voted a yes.
You're pro, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something that obviously there's lots of, legalities and ramifications and things, a lot of questions both sides, but I do think it's something that when there is no alternative, it's the kindest. It's the kindest
absolutely.
thing.
When there's no quality of life, definitely.
Yeah, and to just prolong life just for life is not, in my eyes, it's not kind. It's cruel. It's cruel. Yeah, and to have that ability and have that choice is your last. It is it's the last thing you can have, the choice to make that decision.
Absolutely. So, going back to dying, what do you think happens when you die?
I'm not particularly religious. Do I believe in an afterlife? I don't know. I believe that there is a spirit. What happens to that spirit, I don't know. I do believe there's too much that people have seen, heard, for us to completely dismiss it. Do I believe in ghosts and everything? I don't know. There's times I've sensed things, not with my dad. My dad actually had a neighbour who was 105, and she passed away. She was very much into seances, and she was very religious. And when she passed, I went into her house. Never been upstairs in her house, but went with her nephew. She didn't have any children, and I sensed she was still there.
You could feel her
I
presence.
could feel absolutely, and that I shouldn't have been there. The photo fell over. There was other things that moved,
oh my God,
and
I just felt down the stairs.
But I felt that I shouldn't. That's it. I shouldn't. She was very private in one sense, and I really felt. I think we both felt it in that moment that we were intruding. But I went back a few weeks after, and it was completely different. Feeling
like
in that house.
She'd moved on.
So I don't know what I believe. But I do, and that's the only time I've ever felt anything like that. But it was a real feeling that, I was intruding and she hadn't left yet.
Wow.
Yeah. So where do I feel? For Dad, I'd like to think Dad was a diver. And I said to Mum, I'd like to think that, as he passed, he was underwater.
You think that maybe they move on to somewhere where they were happiest? Because if he was a diver, he must have loved going diving. Do you think that's maybe somewhere where
it was
now
his happiest
he's spending his time after moving on from this plane?
Sorry.
That's all right. Don't apologise. Don't apologise.
Yeah, so I think for Dad, I'd like to think that he, was with his friends diving. Dad was a diver, so he says some of his best times were on boats. I mean, going down to Devon, with his mates. And I'd like to think that as he passed, that's where he was.
That's where his spirit's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you said that you're not religious and Dad wasn't religious, was he? But do you think that there is like a God? And do you think there's something?
I think there's
greater
something.
Than us?
I think there's something, and I really wish I remembered, the phrase Dad said. Dad wasn't religious, but he totally understood and had admiration for what religion does for people, and that it creates a belonging, and it's the belonging that some people need, in the world. Do I believe everything in the Bible? I don't know. But I believe if people can live by that and devote their life to that in a good way, then how can it be wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose I'm a bit of this mindset. I do believe in something.
Yes.
But I'm not sure that I believe in the devil.
No.
And the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm quite positive anyway, but I like to believe in the positive of it. Of
yes.
God and stuff.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the negatives.
Yeah. It's a way to live your life. And if that works for people, and if that's something that people can aspire to, and it helps them, then how can it be a bad thing?
Yeah.
Do I don't know. I'm not. My mum's Catholic, so we're Church of England. Dad was, I think, when we were younger, I think the priest came round to try and say, okay, Joan, you know, and Dad was like, you know, adamant that we would be Church of England, and if we wanted to, you know, convert to Catholicism when we were older, it was our choice. So yeah, we've always been part of our local, you know, St Peter's Church. I was christened there. The girls go to St Peter's School, so religion is in, you know, church is part of our lives in a very loose sense.
Same as ours.
Yes.
Some goes to a Catholic school, you know.
Yeah. So, and I did want the girls to be exposed to, you know, the traditional celebrations, you know, the Easter, the Christmas, you know, all that that comes Palm Sunday, all those traditions, which I think, you know, is important.
Yeah.
But do we go to church on Sunday? No. We do sometimes with the girls' guides and brownies, and when I do, there is a sense of, you know, something there. But do I lead my life by it? I don't, but I have
fundamentally you're a good person and you abide by, you know, the good, you know, the rules basically of being a good kind human, which most of us do.
Hopefully. Yeah.
But you just don't want to get up on a Sunday morning, but who can blame you? Have you ever been to see a medium? I know you know,
I haven't, but I'm quite curious to do that. I haven't. I know lots of people who have. Why haven't I been? I don't know if I'm scared of what might come out. Having lost somebody so close, is that something? But I don't think Dad would come forward. Maybe Dad would come forward. I don't know. I don't seem to think that Dad wouldn't come forward in that sense, because he was like, oh, it's all mumbo jumbo, whatever. Yeah. But I do know people who have had very strong readings, and I am curious about it. Have you?
I've been, and they've never said anything to me. I was a bit skeptic.
Yeah, I'm a
bit skeptic.
Yeah.
Still, she seemed accurate for the people it was like in a group setting. People that she called out.
Yeah.
Part of me still feels that they are people that are looking for something.
Yeah.
And they are capitalising on that.
Yes.
But I think whatever gets you through, and if that's what you need, then
again, something, if it brings you peace, you know, obviously, there are people that take advantage.
If somebody had died, my husband went and he'd left loads of gold bars and he didn't tell me where they were.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Daily to everyone. Where'd you bloody hide them?
Please get in touch with him.
Well, funny enough, my sister was at a party, she said, and it was somebody's husband, I think, who was a medium, and she wasn't aware of that. And it was at the end of the party. I'm sure it is. I might be getting this story wrong. She'll be listening to this going, no, it wasn't like that. But I'm sure it's something like that. And he came up to her and said, you've got an aura about it. There's something I need to tell you. And she was like, I don't know. And it was something about my nan, and I'm sure it was something about a ring. He said, I just need to tell you. He said, I don't know what you're going to do with it. He said, but I just need to tell you. So my sister, I think, spoke to my dad about it, and he was like, nah, I don't know what you're on about. But she says it was really weird that he just came up to her randomly. And I do believe there are people that
I think that
see people. I work with a couple of people who say they see things and have feelings around people. And I think that's what some people might
we get a vibe, don't we, about somebody anyway.
Yes.
I think I would like to think I'm a good judge of character, and I tend to get a vibe if I'm around someone and think, I'm not sure about that person.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say that would mean I was attuned to anything else, but I do think there are people that can tune into a higher level.
Yeah. And I do, like I said, I do believe things have been seen, heard, recorded, whatever, more than enough times for us to completely dismiss that there is.
Have you sensed your dad at all since he's gone?
No.
Do you think you would want to feel him around, or have a little wink to know that he's?
I mean, saying that, I suppose I'm a big thing with robins and white feathers. Like a lot of people are. I've seen quite a few white feathers lately, and it was quite interesting in a recent job change where I was a bit unsure as to what I was doing, and I was on the phone to friends. It's mad because I just think, God, it's all mumbo jumbo. But I was on the phone to friends, and they were going, "It's fine, it'll all be okay. You're fine. Bear with it, you'll be fine." And I came in the house, and I went out within half an hour. There were 7 white feathers on the front drive.
Yeah. So maybe that was, and don't get upset. And if it was, then why not take that as a little bit of comfort that he's saying, yeah, it will be all right. If it helps us to deal with how we're feeling and how we're going to get through things, I think you should do whatever makes you feel right. You know what I mean?
And yeah, Dad was a bit like that. He was very much like, you know, I remember telling him when we were pregnant with Ava, and we're not married, so you know, some people are like, I mean, we'd together, she and I have been together 30 years, but you know, we've been together a long time before we had Ava. And my dad was like, you know, there's no right time or wrong time to do anything, you know. And that was Dad, you know.
And what's right for you, it's not right for somebody else.
Absolutely, and he was very much lived his own life like that. So, yeah.
I think a lot of us do spend a lot of time trying to please everybody else, and actually, they don't care what we do in the long term. So we have to do what's right. So he's right in that respect.
Yes.
Was Dad cremated or was he buried?
Yes. Ashes are sitting in Mum's lounge at the moment. Yeah, we're quite, you know, happy to that. I think we will be scattering next year.
Do you think we'll put some in the sea, or where we went driving?
Yeah, we're going to go down to Dartmouth, I think, around Salcombe and Dartmouth, where we used to holiday year after year after year as a kid.
Yeah.
And that's where one of his friends actually, he lived down there, and his friend's son's got a boat. So hopefully, you know, if we can get in touch with them and, you know, he can take us out. Yeah, that'd be nice.
My stepdad is mad on boats, and he's been a fisherman, you know, going out and sailing his boat all his life.
Amazing.
And he said to me, in no uncertain terms, return me to the sea.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
So it's nice that you can do that. And what about for you? I mean, I know it's not anytime soon,
but you never know. You never know.
What would you want? Would you want to be married, or would you want to be cremated?
Yeah, Dad was always cremated. I think, you know, just to have a, you know, somewhere. I mean, my we live not far down here. 10-minute walk is Lodge Hill Cemetery, where my grandparents and my granddad, actually, my grandparents on my mum's side and my granddad on my dad's side, they're buried there, and it's just, I don't know, it all just feels very morbid and sad just to have that place. And I don't know. To me, I think, cremation. I mean, I'd scatter the ashes in somewhere that feels more linked to that person.
Yeah. Would you be happy for the girls to decide where that would be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I don't have any particular special place. TK Maxx.
And Fishers.
That's somewhere I spend a lot of time. No, I don't. It would probably be a holiday destination. It probably would be somewhere in the sea, site by the sea. Yeah, where I used to holiday, same place probably.
Yeah,
childhood memories there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not TK Maxx.
Not TK Maxx. I might get a nice urn from there.
I might do.
If they're selling that sort of thing these days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know it's morbid thinking about it, but sort of leaving the girls behind.
Oh, yes.
How do you think, you know, they would cope? Do you think that you've equipped them with the skills? I mean, not now. I mean,
no. And that's your only your hope as you become a parent, that you get them to adulthood. I think that's before, you know, and you know, touch wood, that's something that I will be able to do. You know, so I mean, say my friend Leslie, unfortunately, didn't have that opportunity, and her children were still relatively young. So, yes, I mean, all my girls are quite strong-willed, which is a bonus on a. You have to deal with that, but I think in their own sense, you know, they're very close to their dad as well. So, I would hope that it's something that, as much as it would be traumatic and it would change their life, they would have the coping mechanism to go on and carry on.
And I'm sure that you tell them every day that you love them, so there's no need to leave them with any question. Say, I'm sure they're not in any doubt how you feel about that.
Not at all. No.
Yeah. That's wonderful to talk to you about things like that. I know it's an emotive subject, and you know, people do get upset about these sorts of things. Yeah. We can only hope to sort of try and talk about it and get it out there a bit more.
Absolutely. You know, I think it's important.
It's inevitable.
Well, I think it is, and I think that's why, you know, like I mentioned before about Dad speaking to the celebrants. I think that's just something that we should all have the opportunity to do if we know that time is running out. It's such a gift to be able to speak to people, but it seems so novel. that Dad spoke to somebody beforehand. And actually saying that, another friend, my mum, who knew she was going, she wrote her eulogy, which was read out by her son, and she thanked everyone for being there. And it's just such a joy. It's so personal. Whereas you go to some funerals and they're very, very, they don't seem very personal. They're very disjointed, but not very.
I think because in that time when people are grieving, trying to plan what somebody would want can be
absolutely
discombobulated,
it
because
is.
You don't know yourself how you do
totally and having that time that we had was, say, it was a real gift.
And he sounds like he was totally chilled and
a
really open person.
He was very open to talk about things. He was which again is not something that every family can do. And when you have disjointed families and people are very close, and don't want to discuss it and don't want to talk about the inevitable. I understand that, but for us, we could talk about it, and again, that was a real gift.
And how do you feel you're coping now? Now is it exactly a year or
no? This June it happened. So
so
there's lots of firsts. I think it's first Christmas.
Absolutely.
We're very fortunate. Mum only lives 10 minutes away. My sister's only 10 minutes, so we're all very close to each other. So we'll all be spending Christmas together. Yeah, it's those first, I suppose everyone has to deal with. But
it's the new normal.
Yes, and for Mum, she's coping really well. She really is. She's still getting herself out and about, and that's it. But when you've been with somebody for 60 years,
oh gosh, they are part of you.
Yes,
aren't
they? Yeah. So
I wonder if your mum senses him around.
I'm sure she does.
Yeah,
I'm sure she does. She talks to him every day. Yeah, when she's watching her afternoon Christmas films, romantic films, she's like, you wouldn't be wanting to watch this.
And now you've got no choice.
But now she's got full reign of the telly, so she's she does. She talks to him. So
that's lovely. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, Jo.
Oh, thank you.
And it's been a pleasure getting to know you a bit more.
Well, it's wonderful what you're doing.
And I hope that maybe you'll come back and talk to me again.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the future about some other bits and pieces, and hopefully not as morbid, but we'll revisit how you're feeling next time I see you.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
Because it's still quite early on.
Yeah,
you need to just take this time to get through it.
But it's great what you're doing, because I think we do need to talk about this. Yeah. It's going to happen to everyone, whether we like it or not. It's going to happen to everyone. So it's important we talk about it and we tell people what we want. And,
absolutely.
And discuss it.
Now let's just try and keep living.
Yeah, absolutely. And make the most of every day.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jo.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So thank you, dear listeners. If you've enjoyed our show, then please do all the stuff that will help promote us.
Like and share our podcast and follow us on socials, and please subscribe too. If you've got any feedback, it's most welcome, so please contact us.
Likewise, if there's a subject you'd like us to cover, please do get in touch, and thank you for your support.
We are dying to talk to you.